Morning. It would help if good morning. It'd help if I turned on my microphone. It's Jeff Exline in the Digital Content Center on this April the 1st. It is April Fool's Day. No fooling around here. It's winter, maybe fooling us a little bit, thinking that it's a wintry weather here on this first day of April, as it is very chilly outside. But the sun will be coming out here this afternoon, and that should help things out nicely. Let's take a look at a little recap and a look at ahead at April. We're going to begin with a recap of March. And we're going to look ahead at some climatology, what we typically see in April. And we'll also take a look ahead at what we can expect when it comes to rainfall, which is gathering a lot of people's attention for later this week. So let's take a look at March recap and it was a month that featured well above normal temperatures. The mean temperature was 49.5 degrees. The 30-year average was 40.5. So we were a whopping 9 degrees above normal. Total precipitation was below normal by 1.59 inches, and we have that deficit ongoing for the year, but it looks like we could put a dent in that deficit over the next several days, especially Thursday through Sunday of the upcoming week here. Now let's take a look ahead at April by the numbers. And climatologically speaking, an average high at the beginning of the month is 57. Average low at the beginning of the month is 36. We are going to see temperatures below normal today. That low of 36, it kind of felt cold this morning with temperatures were in the mid 30s, but that is an average low for this time of year. So wasn't all that out of the ordinary, but we're only going to get up to around 50 this afternoon. Average high temperature by the end of the month climbs to 67 degrees. So we see a nice jump in the averages by the end of the month. The rain showers, those April showers, yield 3.15 inches is our average rainfall for the month of April. And we have a chance at getting that amount of rain, or close to it at least, as I mentioned, in 4 days here later this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think we have a chance of getting to the monthly amount. So after a dry March, we're going to make up for it into April. Probably a good chance that April is going to finish with above normal precipitation, especially if we get 3 inches of rain here early in the month, we'll add to it here through the month. So there's a real good chance of that happening. In terms of temperatures, I don't expect it to be as warm as it was, at least compared to average in March. March, as I mentioned, was 9 degrees above average. I think it's going to be kind of chilly. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if April finished a little bit below normal. It's definitely going to we're going to carve out some below normal temperatures in the long range forecast here in the first half of April. The warmest recorded temperature in April, 89 back in 1990. Coldest was 15 back in 1950. And something we don't want to hear, but we do average 1.5 inches of snow. So snowflakes in April are actually somewhat common. In fact, most Aprils have at least a trace of snow. By the way, April is the last month with an average snowfall until we get to November. So if you don't like snow, you're going to get a hiatus May through pretty much October. Sometimes you can see a few snowflakes in October, but typically around here, May through October, we don't see any snow. Twig is saying good morning. Good morning to you. You are welcome. And daylight gain is 72 minutes. So there you go. We gain over an hour of daylight this month. So weather headlines, we have this cloudy morning, but it's going to transition into a sunny afternoon. I'll show you that in a second. Breezy and warmer tomorrow, but we do have the risk for a passing shower, thunder shower tomorrow. And we'll show you that on our Futurecast. There's the clouds, which are hanging tough across the area here. Steubenville, Wheeling, New Martinsville, Caddis, still rather cloudy, but we will start to see some holes in the clouds appear. Temperatures still in the 30s. And I was talking about this morning, how we would stay in the 30s through at least 11 a.m. this morning. And indeed, we are in the upper 30s in many areas. Your next 12 hours, we should crack 40 at noon with some breaks of sun coming out. And then we should get up to around 50 degrees this afternoon as it becomes sunny. Temperatures tonight will drop down into the 40s. Overnight low temperatures tonight over around 40 degrees. That's a look at your next 12 hours. No rain is expected over the next 12 hours. There's the cloud cover, which is showing some signs of breaking right now. There you can see some holes in the clouds starting to appear, especially in Carroll County into Harrison County. So we're going to start to see the sun come out, and that'll jump the temperatures out of the 30s into the 40s and eventually up to around 50 degrees. But a lot of stratocumulus clouds, which are often slow to erode, but we are seeing those clouds begin to erode. So Futurecast also has had a great handle on this this morning. You can see how the clouds erode for the sun for this afternoon. Now, a warm front will be approaching tomorrow, and that can trigger a passing shower or thunder shower. I don't think a lot of the day tomorrow will feature much rain, but be on the lookout around noon, 1 o'clock through about 3 o'clock in that window for a passing shower or a thunderstorm. See how that moves on through the area. And then later in the day, probably dry. But that's with a warm front. Then the cold front approaches as we head into the overnight hours. Showers return into Thursday morning. Late Wednesday night, Thursday morning, showers are likely Thursday. There could be some thunder in the afternoon hours of Thursday, and that's the start. See, what's going to happen is a frontal boundary, and the cold front will come into the area, and what will happen is it's going to stall. And as that front stalls, it's going to become basically a stationary front. So that stationary front will just kind of meander back and forth across the area Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Eventually, it'll push on out of here later Sunday, and it's going to get colder into early next week. But when you have a stationary front like that, that's going to be the focusing mechanism for rainfall. That's why we expect rounds of rain to develop, especially late Wednesday night. Again, there can be a passing shower, or thunder shower during the afternoon Wednesday, but starting late Wednesday night through Sunday is when we'll see these rounds of rain that can be heavy at times and can lead to some issues when it comes to some high water. Now, you look at the next 36 hours, you look at rain amounts through tomorrow evening, and rain amounts do not look that impressive. So this is what I'm talking about here is that shower, thunder shower crossing the area as we head into the afternoon hour. So a quick hitter coming our way tomorrow. It's not going to be an all-day rain or anything like that. And the rain amounts will likely stay under 1/4 inch. But it's after that is where we're going to see the higher rain amounts. That's where we're going to see amounts of rain basically Thursday through Sunday on the order of 2 to 3 inches, perhaps. Now, this is an early estimate. It may go up and may go down a little bit from here, but this is an early estimate of rainfall. So I urge you to check back, especially if you live near a stream or creek, a flood prone area. And if you're asking about the Ohio River, there will be rises along the river. It's a little too early in the game to give you an accurate forecast on how high it's going to be getting. So keep that in mind as we become more confident in the rain amounts, and especially once rain has fallen, that forecast for the river will become accurate. Now, I do want to stress that there will be rises likely along the river, but it's a little too early to say how much it will be rising. But this rainfall is spread out. At least it's not all at once. It's spread out over a 4-day stretch. But it could be enough to cause some issues. And there's going to actually be heavier rainfall to our south across southern Ohio into Cincinnati, where the Ohio meets up with the Mississippi too, and that corridor, that stretch is where there's actually going to be some heavier rain. Now, there are flood watches in effect for a lot of areas, including Tyler County locally, and this stretches all the way back to much of southern Ohio and to Cincinnati, Kentucky. National Weather Service out of Pittsburgh still waiting to as we get closer to the event to issue a flood watch. But of course, they're keeping an eye on it as well. As you get closer to an event, your confidence in the amounts of rain are higher. So, to issue a flood watch this far out, is a little rare. But some of the National Weather Service offices doing just that. They are issuing a flood watch. Kyle has a couple questions right here as we look at the extended. So this cold weather calm for the second week of April, potential highs in the 30s, polar vortex. No, not really, Cal. I mean, what this polar vortex is a word that I wish would go away. Polar vortex gets misconstrued for every cold air mass that comes in. There was some stratospheric warming last month, and there's a delay when there's warming in the stratosphere near the poles that typically leads to colder air drawn southward from the poles. About a month later, you could set your clock to it, and that's an indication of what's coming our way into early next week. But It's April. It can happen. Could we see highs in the 30s next week? It's a possibility. Right now, I'm leaning with 40s, but there is a possibility we could see some highs in the 30s next week. A cold air mass, indeed. And Sarah here is saying, can't wait to start planting the garden there. Yeah, but you could start planting some of those cold vegetables, I guess, the onions, etc. But anything else, you're gonna have to wait until later in May to do that. Around Memorial Day for all those other the tender vegetation. So, and Sarah says it's going to be a great day in Cameron. Yeah, as the sun comes out this afternoon. A little chilly though, with highs near 50. So they were looking at that 9+1 day forecast, and there's that soggy stretch of weather that we're talking about with the threat for showers and thunder showers. Wednesday afternoon, a little window there, 1 to 3 p.m. Nothing that's going to cause a whole lot of rain there. It's going to be a quick hitter Wednesday. So, a lot of the time it is going to be not raining, but there will be a quick hitting passing shower, thunder shower between that midday 3 o'clock time frame is what I'm looking at. Rain amounts of that not very excessive, and it will be breezy tomorrow. Winds can gust around 30 miles per hour. So showers are in the forecast Thursday, and Friday, we may catch a break in the afternoon with more rain coming back in later Friday night into Saturday morning, maybe some thunder later Friday night, Saturday morning, and then showers are in the forecast on Sunday. Highs near 60. Could see some snowflakes next week. And as Kyle was talking about the chilly weather, going with highs in the 40s early next week, there could be a couple days there with highs in the 30s if, it stays cloudy. But we'll visit that. It does look like low temperature is going to be in the 20s, upper 20s early next week. So I wouldn't be planting anything quite yet with this cold weather that we have coming. And it does look like that cold snap is going to continue here. You look at the long range forecast. I mentioned, I don't think this upcoming month of April is going to be as warm overall as what we saw in April. Or back in March, I should say, the last month. We finished 9 degrees above average in March. Now, the 6 to 10 day outlook, the 8 to 14 day outlook does paint a lot of cold in the eastern half of the United States. Something else, Cal was asking about polar vortex. There are many other factors here. The NAO, it's an oscillation, the Northern Atlantic Oscillation. When that goes negative this time of year, in which that's going to be the case, the eastern part of the United States can get cold. And when the PNA, the Pacific North American, that's another oscillation that we look at. These are signals. When the PNA is positive, it tends to get very warm in the west and cold in the east. So all those signs pointing towards those conditions there in the next week. How long it stays is in question. Is it a quick hitter? It only lasts several days next week? Does it last all of next week? That's in question, but at least early next week, it does look like it's going to be pretty cold. And while it is going to be wet now this week, as we usher in that colder air mass, it won't be quite as wet. In fact, you look at the 8 to 14 day, quite amazing how much of the country is going to be drier. When you get into a cold air mass in April, that really puts the old kibosh on showers and storms. A 3 to 4 week forecast does show some warmth trying to return. And so I think the first half of the month, it's going to be colder, and then start to get a little bit warmer, at least in terms of averages there in April. But I doubt we would finish 9 degrees above average in April. If anything, probably closer to average in April than what we saw in March when it comes to our temperatures. Again, if you just missed, just tuning in, did a little recap at the beginning here that March was a well above normal month. We saw the temperature some 9 degrees above the 30-year average, and the precipitation was below average by 1.59 inches. And also talked about the how April, just some climatology numbers for you. The average low is 36 at the beginning of April. So, this morning, although it was cold, that was actually a normal low. We've been spoiled here of late. Average high is 57. We're not going to get there today, despite the sun coming out. And then the average high jumps to 67 by the end of the month. April showers yield us 3.15 inches. And we do average snowfall in the month of April. Some of you may remember a big snow in April. That was April 2nd through the 5th, 1987, when we had a big snow. But that 3.15 inches of rain We may be getting that in a 4-day stretch here, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, as we're looking at some very soggy weather there, and there is the potential for flooding. No flood watches are issued yet in our local area, with the exception of Tyler County, which is under the jurisdiction of the National Weather Service in Charleston. National Weather Service in Pittsburgh is waiting for a little more confidence in the values as we draw closer to the late week period. But I would expect a flood watch if this forecast, unless there's some dramatic shifts, I would expect a flood watch to be issued for much of our area for later this week because of that rainfall. So we do actually need the rain. We're at a deficit of about 3 inches for the year. And it looks like we may put a huge dent in that deficit. The problem is you don't want to make up that deficit in like 4 days, but that's what we can be seeing. Let's see. We have Sarah saying, with the nights being cold, my 14 deer still come to eat the corn in the feeder. You see my yard. It's already plowed. There you go. Getting ready for planting season, which will be here. Spring is it's a season in April, even in April, early spring. It's just I think it really tests our patience, right? Everyone wants warm weather. They want it to stay warm. We get these teases of warm weather. We get these nice warm days and we think, okay, snow's behind us. Cold weather is behind us, but every once in a while it gets colder. And that's what's going to happen as we head into early next week. Tomorrow evening, Corey wants to know about for a baseball game. I'll tell you what, Corey, looks pretty good for your baseball game tomorrow evening in Barnesville. I think you'll be pretty good. The rain, I was showing this here with our Futurecast product. I could show you again here. I do think there's going to be a period of rain tomorrow, but I think it's going to come in the afternoon. As long as your field is a lot of fields these days, I can't keep track of all the fields out there. A lot of the fields play on that, synthetic grass. If you're playing on grass, it may be a little wet, but the amount of rain tomorrow isn't going to be all that heavy, but there can be a passing thunder shower early to mid-afternoon, noon, 3 p.m. time frame. It's going to move in, move out pretty fast. Notice later in the afternoon, there's 5 p.m. Probably not a lot of rain during the afternoon. If there is, not going to be anything too heavy by that point. It's going to be breezy and warm. And the amount of rain there isn't all that heavy, as you could see, into tomorrow evening. So that amount of rain in the afternoon hours is going to be pretty light. So I'm optimistic, Corey, that I think you'll be able to get that baseball game in tomorrow evening. The heavier rain will arrive later tomorrow night after midnight. So keep those fingers crossed, and I'll keep you updated as we head towards tomorrow with another weather update. So there you go. A lot to track. New month could get wet around here. It looks like it is going to get wet with all this rain coming our way later in the week. So just a heads up. And Cal saying thanks for all the weather knowledge. Yeah, Cal, that's some of the polar there are some polar vortex is a real thing. Okay, but it's a real term, and it's been around, I don't know, since who knows when, probably at least the 70s, maybe 1950s in meteorology. I have textbooks with the terminology of polar vortex, but what it actually is and what happens is, it gets into the mainstream media and people start talking, the polar vortex is coming and basically they use that because they think it's a nice kind of term, and it's catchy, but it's not fitting the correct definition. The polar vortex is basically the jet stream that goes around the wind, and when it does get weak, it can dislodge and head southward from the pole, and then it can get cold in the United States. So technically that can happen, but what happens more than not is every time it gets cold, we throw out it's the polar vortex, and that's not necessarily the case all the time. So it's a cold snap, but it doesn't sound as sexy, I guess, as polar vortex. So that's where the polar vortex basically comes from, and that's where it gets. And Tom saying thank you. Okay. But yeah, so we try to educate. A lot of terminology gets thrown out there, and anymore, the internet and social media is just a plethora of weather information these days. So there's a lot out there, And I know there's a lot out there. And so thanks for tuning in, and thanks for trusting us with forecasts, and because I know you have a lot of other sources that you can go to. But okay, well, I better get running. It's 11:36 already. I got some work to do before News 9 midday, and I'll see you on News 9 midday with an updated look at your forecast. Bill has the news of the day as well. It's April 1st, April Fool's Day. Don't be fooled. I guess a cruel April Fool's joke would be saying we're done for snow for the rest of this season. that would be my April Fool's joke, because I have a feeling we're going to see some snow as we head into next week. Okay, everyone, it's April. Patience. Practice your patience in spring. I say patience is a virtue. So practice it, because we all want that warm weather. We all want to get out there in the garden, but practice your patience, because we need to be patient. Eventually we'll get warm later in spring and stay warm later in spring and heading into summer. But we have to get through this stretch of spring where you get some winter leftovers at times. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great Tuesday, and enjoy that sun as it starts to come out.